Welcome to the Real Estate Conversation. In this episode, I am going to explore with two experts in the luxury real estate market the history of upmarket property in Malta. We'll look at where it is today and how we can expect the market to evolve over the years. I have with me Kevin Deguara and Micallef. Thank you both for joining me on the Real Estate Conversation. It's a real pleasure to have you guys.
Likewise.
Kevin Deguara started his career in the year 2000 with JK Properties as a letting agent and moved into property sales as an agent with Remax when it was launched in 2004. In 2007, he became an office manager and built a very successful Remax office before opening his own real estate franchise in 2012. Kevin has worked with SDAs all his career and has been in the hot seat of numerous large deals, as well as winning the #1 agent in Remax in 2018. Micallef is an elite golfer, although he has been linked to property for years. He started his real estate career in 2010 and has also worked in project management. JJ has mainly excelled in his career as an agent, working with two other real estate agencies before he found his place in 2017, where he opened a real estate franchise with 3 partners in Pietà. Today he operates as an agent and is a top performer, especially in the upmarket real estate sector. Upmarket real estate in Malta has been a thriving part of the industry for over 2 decades, and much more prominently over the last 3 to 5 years. The sector started to gain momentum in the early 2000s when the Tumas Group developed the Porto Maso Marina and the 5-star Hilton Malta Hotel. In 2003, the second major development was launched, which was Teeny Point, and therefore a number of developments were built, today called SDAs. In Malta, these are Fort Cambridge, Pender Gardens, Mercury Towers, Madlina Village, Tassellum Residence, St. Angelo Mansions, Tamonita, Smart City, The Quad, Piazzetta Seafront, and Trident Park. And in Gozo, Fort Chambray, Kempinski Residence, and Vista Point. Attracting affluent people has been the priority of both past and present Maltese governments. Over the last 6 to 7 years, many new schemes have been developed and some reintroduced to attract both individual high net worth EU and non-EU citizens and foreign entities that create employment for Maltese people. These position Malta as an attractive place to live and work for foreign C-level employees, creating a demand for luxury accommodations. The new visa and residency regulations, the Global Residence Scheme, Highly Qualified Individual Program, and the famous Passport Scheme are just a few of these schemes that are attracting droves of high net worth individuals. Kevin, you have experience in the rental market, as this is where you started. And of course, the majority of your career has been focused on property sales, predominantly in the upmarket sector category. First, please, can you explain to the audience what an SDA is and where it fits within the Malta real estate market ecosystem?
An SDA, to the best of my knowledge, is a particular development, as you've mentioned, Porto Maso, Teeny Point, Fort Cambridge, and all the other lists that you've mentioned, categorize themselves as a special designated area. A special designated area is an SDA. Now, what is a special designated area? What are the benefits of buying a property in a special designated area? And why would one want to buy in a special designated area? It is fact that foreigners opt to buy in a special designated area for the simple reason that there is less hurdles to acquire the property. Now, if one would have to buy a property outside of an SDA, they're only permitted to purchase 1 property per individual. If a foreigner wanted to purchase a property within SDA, they can buy multiple units, for investment purposes, for rental purposes, and so forth and so on.
And this happens.
And this happens, yes. An SDA have been categorized for these certain projects because obviously the quality of this project is not the same as buying a property in a back street of one of our villages. One of the main benefits of an SDA is that a foreigner coming to Malta wanted to be buying a property in a desired location, in a upmarket address, and these SDAs fall predominantly in these upmarket addresses. And again, it's fast-tracked to be able to purchase a property not needing an AIP permit. An AIP permit is another permit that a foreigner would need to purchase a property if it's for investment or if it's for his personal use. In an SDA, this permit is not required.
Okay.
So there's more benefit for a foreigner wanting to have an easier process in buying a property.
Okay. So going back to the developments, these are kind of lifestyle developments with a certain amount of amenities. They are upmarket properties. They're a kind of a condominium.
A project to qualify for an SDA has to have certain parameters within the development. It has to have a number of units. It would have to have certain amenities that categorize it as a luxury development versus others. So back in 2004, when I started my sales career, there was Porto Maso, which is a special designated area, and Teeny Point. At that time, there was only those two. All the foreigners who were looking to come to Malta, or even Maltese investors who wanted to buy in an upmarket property, which is an SDA, bought in these two projects, which obviously created a hype for people to buy in that SDA.
JJ, do you believe that this is an effective strategy to categorize projects where foreigners can buy as many properties as they want, just like the Maltese?
Yes, definitely. I believe the SDA concept was formulated for many of the benefits that Kevin has mentioned, and I think one of the main key ingredients of why they've implemented this is so that foreigners can buy freely like locals and EU citizens can. It attracts a lot of foreign investment to Malta, which is obviously a positive thing for Malta's economy and obviously to meet the standards of other European countries. It separates upmarket projects from normal projects. So even when foreigners are coming to Malta, and normally they come, especially high net worth individuals, would come with a certain standard that they're used to, it automatically separates the normal projects to you can call them the creme de la creme of properties in Malta. So I think this is a positive thing. We do not restrict foreign investment to only purchase in SDA projects. We allow them to purchase at least one property per individual. And actually, not many people know this, but matrimonial law in Malta does not apply to foreigners, which means that if you are a married couple, potentially you could buy one in each name. So that already opens the door to two properties. Then the only downside, on the other hand, is that whoever, as Kevin said as well, one would need an AIP permit to purchase in Malta in a non-SDA property. And one of the main requirements and restrictions in an AIP permit is that they are not permitted to rent the property. Oh. This automatically restricts the amount of properties that a foreigner would want to buy.
It affects the decision making,
yes,
of course,
yes.
as well. But can they rent in an SDA?
Yes, of course they can, and they can in an SDA project. One can rent, buy freely like a local can, so they can
just
rent.
like a Maltese.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's also a positive thing because a lot of these foreigners that come to Malta normally have a certain standards, as I said earlier, and this improves the standard of rental properties in Malta for C-class workers and obviously top CEOs.
So potentially I'd prefer not to buy in a non-SDA because I can't get a return on investment. Let's say I'm going to leave, or how does it work?
Not entirely. Buying a property out of an SDA is still a very sound and plausible investment, undoubtedly. There's different parameters of what the end user or the purchaser is intending to buy. Now, an SDA is actually a lifestyle residence, a lifestyle property. During the iGaming boom, let's say, a number of years ago, they actually wanted to be within a development where many of their friends lived and colleagues lived and expats lived and whatever. So most of these residents lived in an SDA. Did they own it or did they rent it? It's two different things. But the point is that if an investor had bought the property and rented it out, then he's allowed to rent it. So he's renting it to another foreigner. And so, and also a Maltese person buying a property with an SDA would then have actually created a rental investment for these similar these clients. Also, for even a Maltese person who bought an SDA, when he comes to resell his property to a third party, because he bought his property a number of years ago, sat on his investment has grown, and intends to sell it. His market of who he's going to offer it to is not just that market, he's offering it to everyone, because a foreigner can actually then buy within an SDA. Okay. So there's a chain reaction, so to speak. Yeah.
Also, to capitalize on the question, I believe the SDA concept is also very positive, and I wouldn't be surprised if this was one of the thought processes behind it, or when the government initiated the SDA project, is that locals, or the majority of locals, especially back then, weren't able to compete with these high net worth individuals that we were hoping to attract to Malta. So it still allows Maltese individuals and EU citizens to purchase property outside of an SDA complex, and they have a more of a fair playing field.
Just to add to that, I've been involved in many property transactions within an SDA and have multiple clients who actually have bought in an SDA originally, made Malta their home, and have bought multiple properties through other mechanisms outside of an SDA. Mm-hmm. And we also have some particular clients who live in an SDA who actually have bought a project who's going to turn that into an SDA.
Yes.
So,
right.
you know.
Okay. There have been several news outlets reporting the major influx of millionaires and even billionaires purchasing property in Malta. Can we say this is a true statement? In Malta attracting the creme de la creme, and why?
I would say yes and no. I think we are attracting, as you like to call it, the creme de la creme of high net worth individuals. I believe we are attracting many, and actually I've been pleasantly surprised to have had a couple of billionaire clients myself. However, I believe that even though we are attracting them, and I believe maybe we are attracting them due to the programs that we have in place, such as the passport that you mentioned, and now the visa program that we have. I believe they're coming here mainly for those benefits and not to actually live here. So I think we're only getting a very small portion of their net worth, but we're not enjoying the real fruits of their labour.
I mean, what JJ said is pretty spot on, to be honest. Yes, I mean, we have many millionaires coming to Malta. We have many local millionaires who are also based here. Do we have billionaires coming in? I would presume we do. I do have a number of high net worth clients. How high net worth, I still need to distinguish, but that's irrelevant, to be honest. Mm-hmm. Does Malta have the infrastructure and the quality of living to sustain these billionaires? Today I would say no.
Kev, what can we do in Malta to attract more of these individuals and possibly keep them coming and sustain them?
For the actual part of them coming, I would say that's already working. Through the schemes that are in place, they are coming. Are they coming and leaving, or are they coming and staying is two different things. Now, what can Malta do to keep these individuals in Malta? Well, 10 years ago, we were in one position. Today, we're in a different position. I mean, everybody has traveled, everyone has experienced a better service, everyone has learned, a certain quality of life. Malta has a lot to offer. I mean, the clients that we currently handle today, they come for the sun, the sea, our cultural heritage is massive. Do we have flaws? Yes, like every other country. Can we sustain a billionaire lifestyle? Maybe in the near future, if things keep on going as they are and people have an open mind and allow things to maintain such a client, then I would say yes. With actually retaining the millionaire, billionaire clientele, I mean, yes, I believe we can sustain that. There's room for improvement in every sector to sustain such a client. We are hearing about 6-star hotels and an upper level of catering establishments opening. But yes, I mean, I would say we are moving into the right direction, but we have a lot more to go.
I think to continue on what Kevin's saying, I think quality in all aspects of the word needs improving. I think over the last 5 to 10 years, we've come a long way. I think we're close to reaching, the points of where we need to be to really keep these high net worth individuals in Malta. But I believe a few things still need to improve. Those things are, just to mention a few, infrastructure, which I think has improved, especially we're seeing a lot of roadworks. I think the government are improving the roads, as we can see. I think obviously when it's done completely, I think there'll be the flow of traffic will be a lot easier, and this will obviously contribute to a more comfortable standard of living for these high net worth individuals. Also, I think a few things such as like hotel service, restaurant services, these things we've come a long way, but I think to really reach the standards we need to up the bar a little bit. Yeah, I think actually a good example that I was thinking about is that if you go to any major city, you'll see brands like Louis Vuitton, Gucci, and all these high brands that these high net worth individuals are interested in. We don't have that yet, and I think we probably don't have them because we're not retaining these high net worth individuals yet. I think when we get there, it will be a sign on its own that we're there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If I was a qualified buyer today, and I had €500,000 to 750,000 to purchase a property, could I buy an upmarket property in Malta? What would I get today?
There are still maybe 4 or 5 SDA projects that one could buy under the 750,000 mark. Two of the SDA projects that are within the St. Julian's area are Pender Gardens and Mercury Towers. That could be an option for foreign investment to reach a good return on investment and also be able to purchase under the 750,000 mark. There are also a couple of projects in the north and in the south that you had mentioned earlier that are also an option for foreigners to purchase under 750,000, but it's becoming more and more difficult every day.
Mm-hmm. Within the parameters of 500 and 750,000, it depends what one's willing to buy. If one wants a 200 square meter apartment, I would say very unlikely to find within an SDA. It is not impossible. It can be done. But as also JJ said, there are certain SDAs which are not in the St. Julian Slim area, which are in the north and in the south, which up till recently, yesterday, we actually just signed a final deed in an SDA in the south of Malta for less than the parameters you're discussing. Okay. So yes, you have to answer that question, yes.
So what is selling in the market today? If I go over €1 million, how much would that change my prospects?
When one has a budget of €1 million, one expects to get the biggest property, most beautiful view, because they're spending €1 million. In certain SDAs, that's not possible. Within other SDAs, it may be possible. But if you had to up the budget from 1 million to maybe 1.2 or 1.3, then that changes the parameters. It does allow it. It is double from what you're talking of 750, but it all depends on what type of property you're after. But yes, it does help.
As Kevin said, I think it definitely helps hugely. As in, you could, if we go, because you said over $1 million. So if you go between the million and the 1.3, 1.4 that Kevin has mentioned, then you're getting into every SDA project. Whether it be a 200 square meter apartment, direct seafront is another thing, but you'll definitely be getting a comfortable 2-3 bedroom apartment, direct seafront in some of these SDA projects.
If I may add to that, a budget of 750 to 1 million, call it 1 million, outside of an SDA goes a long way.
Gives you a lot, yes.
Goes a long way. One having that budget will allow you to buy a nice property, predominantly an apartment. When I say nice, meaning obviously of a sizable size, we're looking at approximately anywhere between 150 to 200 square meter apartment.
Mm-hmm. You could even buy maybe a really nice semi-detached villa with a small pool, maybe in the areas like San Paolo Targia or very nice central areas. That could definitely be an option.
what is the ROI, both in terms of the rental investment and secondly, in terms of capital appreciation?
An ROI on a property that one is intending to buy, one normally seems to start calculating his rental return on the property he intends to buy. Now, Malta has, for some reason, stuck to a 5% benchmark for an ROI. Now, a 5% is achievable.
Yeah.
There are times where 6% and 7% are also achievable. But there are also times when the property you're buying is going to give you a 3.5 to 4% ROI. Okay. It all depends on what type of property you buy and how much money you intend to spend. And I'll give you an example. If you spend, let's say, 2 million on a property, to have a 5% return on 2 million generated from your rental income is relatively hard. Because you're going to have other properties which are cheaper to purchase and have a higher rent, which their ROI would be higher for a cheaper property than you would buy on a more expensive property.
I think, as Kevin said, I think in general, the general rule for any investor, especially looking to purchase in a low to mid bracket, so between like the 200,000 and 400,000 bracket, would definitely be looking to achieve about 5% return on investment.
Agreed.
If they're looking to purchase a property in one of the SDA properties, and may it be a direct seafront apartment that's in excess of $1 million, then I think yes, the price that they're looking at, the return that they're looking at, normally goes to around 3.5%. But this also gives them the flexibility of, very often when they're purchasing these properties, they're thinking, this is a property I could live in the future. So the return on investment they're willing to lose that little bit to obviously be able to live in it in the future.
Yeah, I mean, but to add to that is exactly somebody would have bought a property with the intention to live in it in the near future. They're happy to rent it. They're happy to make 3.5%, 4%, give or take. Because most of my clients, when they do that, they're comparing having their money sitting in a bank where they're not making anywhere close to that ROI, and they're making 3.5%, 4%, call it whatever it is, and there's also the capital appreciation of that property that they're buying. In a nutshell, what would make more of a most generated ROI would be smaller units. Yeah. Also, people going into the Airbnb sort of industry, where it generates short lets, where the ROI on that tends to be relatively higher. Yes. Yeah.
There has been recent chaos and controversy related to the project which is proposed to happen at the ITS site, whilst there is also proposed White Rocks project and the Corinthia Group project. Is there still room for these types of projects? And if so, how will it affect the Maltese economy in terms of, one, attractiveness and positioning of Malta as a brand, two, employment of Maltese, and three, property prices?
I believe if these projects, and there are many more than what you've mentioned, and we have a lot of very exciting luxury projects that are coming up on the market, I think if they're executed well, if they're executed with a good thought process behind it, maybe even hand in hand with the government to obviously initiate bringing out these projects in stages rather than all in one go. I think there's definitely a market for more upmarket properties, because even though we have a number of SDA projects, as we were saying a bit before as well, a lot of these high net worth individuals look at these properties and they do see them upmarket in comparison to what we have, but they do not see them as upmarket in comparison to some of the major cities. So I think that if we have to deliver these luxury projects to the standards that they're used to, with the 24/7 concierge service, with hotel services like the One Tower Bridge in London, you know, these projects have hotel services, so you can get room service to your own apartment, which is incredible. And this is something we definitely don't have yet in Malta. So if we do get this, I think we'll start attracting more high net worth individuals, and I think it will create a new market of its own.
The three projects that you mentioned are all neighboring projects, which ultimately is going to be creating a destination. Having a destination like that, we're having three beautiful projects attracting, a certain quality of lifestyle. Not talking client-wise, just a lifestyle. I mean, there's a proposed shopping complex. There's a proposed beachfront residences. White Rocks in itself, still we don't know the exact details, but just the positioning of the land there is one of the best pieces of land that Malta has to offer today. Now, but we are forgetting the fact that there's many Maltese who would love to live in that destination. We are not just attracting a foreigner to come and live in those projects. There are Maltese who are downsizing from large houses and want to be in a luxury destination. This is going to be a location for such clients. Also, we're going to have the foreign investors coming to Malta wanting to be in that destination. I mean, it's not going to happen today to tomorrow. I mean, the projects are still in their infancy, but when it does, it is going to be creating a whole new
market. You've also mentioned whether it would improve employment in Malta. I believe yes, it would definitely improve employment in Malta. I think not just from a numbers point of view, but also from a quality point of view. Whereas, with these projects, a certain quality element is implemented into these projects. Service standards will improve. Yes, I do believe that service standards definitely improve significantly, because otherwise it's just not going to meet the demands of that project. And also, one thing that I think is really important is that I think salaries will improve as well, because I think these projects will also help to improve the general salaries in Malta. And I think this is a topic that now that we're getting into that kind of world, it's an element that needs to improve.
Touching onto the question, the question regarding property prices, it's very hard to tell exactly, specifically how it's going to play. But from being in the industry for a substantial amount of years and seeing certain markets change, I would say the pattern would probably be the same. There are certain quality of developments, like we mentioned in the beginning, the first SDAs, Teeny Point, Portamouse on Teeny Point, they actually set the bar to a certain level where other properties then started to catch up. Now, these projects are still ongoing, particularly in Teeny Point. Manuel Island is also on the cards. So there is also a certain level of quality and desire that one wants to buy this type of quality of property. That quality comes at a price. Now, are the prices increasing with the demand of one buying the property? One buying that particular property will have capital appreciation in 3, 4, 5, 7 years. Well, I'm no magician, but time will tell. There has been some ups and downs along the way, but then again, I mean, property has always been a very sound investment, and Malta has been a playground for most of us.
I believe it's supply and demand, like everything else is. Thankfully, we're a small island, which I believe is one of our main and most pinnacle elements to all aspects of our economy. I think the fact that we are manageable makes every aspect of the economy easier to control, and I think from a supply and demand point of view, I think we're always going to be lacking in supply, no matter what we do.
In fact, I was driving from Regional Road, and I noticed that Mercury Towers is going a bit over the business tower, and in actual fact, those are the
only two high rises that we have. Yeah, and very true.
But there are talk of more coming.
Yeah,
I mean, when we're talking of a quality and luxury, one has to be willing to pay for it. So there is a way of also educating the buyer that has to be thinking that, okay, I'm going to be spending X amount of money, but this is the quality I'm getting. There is still a gap that needs to be bridged between what we are experiencing now and what is intending to come onto the market in the future. As you mentioned, that particular project in London, I mean, I know that project. I know the quality that there is. The level is insane. I mean, I have never seen anything of that level. I mean, the concierge service is just out of this world.
It's a lifestyle. No?
It is a lifestyle. Now, to be able to service that in Malta, that is the quality that our millionaires and billionaires would be
expecting.
seeking.
Yeah.
And that's what we should aspire to reach.
Yeah,
to
I
achieve.
agree.
Yeah.
I agree, and hopefully, if, like I said, if it works hand in hand with the government and it's monitored properly, and the standards are capped to a high standard, then I believe the future could be bright.
5 to 10 years. Where will the luxury real estate market be, Jay?
A very difficult question. As Kevin said earlier, you know, if I was a magician, I'd probably become a billionaire, as the billionaires that we were mentioning earlier, because it's a question that we just don't know the answer to. However, my personal opinion, and my opinion comes from years of experience, is that we're definitely moving in the right direction, and I think that our future will be bright as long as we keep on implementing a good strategy.
I totally second that. There's been some new parameters within the construction industry that is moving into the direction that quality is of utmost priority. So asking the question of where do we see us in 10 years, I would say definitely miles ahead
Better
than we
than
are today. And there'll be a lot of people who are going to be playing catch up. But yes, I mean, there will be a very good quality of standard.
I think history, it's been like that all throughout.
Yes.
We've improved decade after decade
I think so.
and year after year. So, I mean, we've always been going in the right direction, let's say.
I think so.
I mean,
I think so. I said, if we do keep on moving in this direction, I think we will start attracting these high net worth individuals, not just to buy, because as we said earlier previously, they are buying in Malta mainly through programs. But I think if we keep on moving like this, we're going to attract them to live here, and that's where we really tap into the fruits of their labor. You know, that's where we're really going to tap into it all. And there's so many positives to Malta, besides, you know, as Kevin had mentioned, the beaches and you know, the climate and the English language that everyone speaks. You know, it's just such a nice simplicity to the lifestyle here in Malta.
We've actually even seen a number of private jets flying in and out, where that shows you what type of clientele is coming in and out. The infrastructure for that is, in my opinion, from what I've seen and know a little bit about, seems to be tip top. The VIP service is there, but needs improving. The VIP service all round, talking from, you know, restaurants to hotel to privacy to many things, and you know, and that type of clientele is what they seek. You know, Gozo, for one, is a destination where definitely these type of clientele would love to live.
In a nutshell, I think it's now time to build on what we have and improve what we don't.
no, agree.
Agree.
Thanks a lot, Kev, for
Welcome.
coming on the show. Jay,
Cheers. Thank you.
thanks a lot. Thank you for joining us on the Real Estate Conversation.